Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to tackle something really crucial for startup growth, but it often gets kind of pushed aside in the big rush to scale.
What's that?
Your social media posting schedule. I mean, so many founders are focused on the next feature, the next funding round,
Right.
and they might be missing this like fundamental way to build their brand. Speaking of boosting things, if you are looking to give your profiles a push, you might want to check out rapidboost.net. They've got some tailored strategies.
Oh, absolutely. It's easy to think social media is just, throwing stuff out there whenever you have a minute.
Yeah.
But being strategic, especially about when and how often you post,
Yeah.
that's fundamental for startups. I mean, every single impression counts, right?
Oh,
And a messy or like inconsistent social presence, that can actually hurt you. Think of it like your digital handshake. For a new company, a solid social profile builds that initial trust.
exactly. And I know that feeling of overwhelm is real for listeners. You're juggling, what, a million things?
Mhm.
And this constant need for content feels like, ugh, just another thing on the list. So our mission today for this deep dive, we're looking at a really great guide about creating the best social media posting schedule for startups is basically to cut through that noise.
Okay.
We want to pull out the most important bits to help you build a schedule that actually works without you feeling like you're, constantly chasing your tail. You want rapid growth, right? Let's make sure your social media time isn't wasted effort.
And what's really interesting from the guide is this focus on those first online interactions.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a startup, social media is often the very first place a potential customer sees you. If your account looks dead
Mm.
or just posts randomly, well, that can create a bad first impression.
Oof, yeah. Like, are they even still in business kind of vibe?
Exactly. It might signal, a lack of attention to detail, maybe even raise doubts about viability before you even get a chance to show your value.
Okay, let's unpack that. So it's not just about posting, it's posting reliably. Our source material really hammers this home. The algorithms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, they tend to reward accounts that post consistently and at the right times.
Mhm.
But here's the kicker, right? It's not just post more is better. Posting too much or way too little, that can actually backfire and hurt your reach.
That's such a critical point.
Yeah.
These algorithms are basically trying to figure out if your content is relevant and engaging for people.
Mhm.
Consistency is a big signal for them.
So inconsistency makes you look less relevant.
Pretty much. Less reliable to the algorithm, so you get less visibility. And like the guy says, that regular, valuable interaction, that's how you build relationships, build trust. Erratic posting just disrupts that whole process. It's hard for your audience to get into a rhythm with you.
Okay, so we get why the schedule matters. Big time. Now let's talk about the how. The guide breaks down like the anatomy of a powerful schedule. And step one, understanding your audience's habits.
Yes. Crucial. This isn't about finding some magical best time to post for everyone.
Right.
It's unique to your audience. Who are they? When are they actually scrolling? The guide stresses using basic platform analytics. Even startups can get good info there.
So like a B2B startup might see LinkedIn buzz in the morning on weekdays.
Exactly. Maybe before the workday really kicks in.
Yeah.
Whereas a direct-to-consumer brand, they might get more action on Instagram or TikTok in the evenings, leisure time.
Makes sense. Okay, so you know your audience's habits, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? The guide talks about setting clear, realistic objectives. KPIs, right? Key performance indicators.
Yep. And it wisely pushes beyond just like counting followers, vanity metrics sometimes.
Yeah, followers don't always pay the bills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are you actually trying to achieve? Is it brand awareness, driving website traffic, getting leads, actual sales?
Because different goals might mean different posting frequencies.
Totally. The guide gives examples like a SaaS startup wanting email signups might do fewer but more in-depth, valuable posts, while an e-commerce store might post more often, showing off products, maybe customer photos, that kind of thing.
Got it. And that logically leads to the next point, choosing the right platforms. You don't need to be everywhere.
Please don't try to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially as a startup, the guide really emphasizes focusing your energy where your target audience actually hangs out and where your content type fits best.
Quality over quantity,
Mhm.
platform-wise.
Precisely. Think about where the conversations in your industry are happening or where your visuals will pop.
Mm.
Like the guide mentions, fintech, probably going to lean towards Twitter, LinkedIn,
Right. Professional spaces.
but a food brand
Yeah.
that's going to thrive on Instagram, maybe Facebook, Pinterest.
Yeah.
Very visual. Spreading yourself too thin just dilutes your impact.
Okay. Audience, goals, platforms. Check, check, check. Now, how do you keep the content flowing without, burning out or boring people. The guide talks about content pillars. I like that term.
Yeah, it's a really useful framework. Content pillars give you structure and variety. Think of them as your main topic buckets.
Like themes you rotate through.
Exactly. Maybe one pillar is educational stuff for your industry. Another is product features or benefits. Then maybe customer testimonials, behind-the-scenes glimpses, even sharing interesting news from your field.
So you're not just hammering the same message constantly.
Right. It keeps things fresh for the audience and, honestly, easier for you to plan. And plus, it helps maintain a consistent brand voice across different topics.
Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. The guide gives specific recommendations for posting cadence on different platforms. These are starting points, obviously, but super helpful. Where should we start? Instagram.
Sure. Instagram. The guide suggests peak times are often weekdays, maybe 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., lunchtime scroll perhaps, and then again in the evening, say 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. when people are relaxing. Frequency-wise, they suggest aiming for maybe 3 to 5 main feed posts a week.
Okay.
But daily stories for that more casual, immediate feel. And maybe 1 or 2 reels per week, since short-form video is huge there.
And the pro tip for Insta is mixing formats, right? Posts, stories, reels, carousels. Use the toolkit.
Definitely. The algorithm seems to like that variety. The guide even cited a fashion startup that apparently doubled profile visits just by upping their feed posts strategically and using stories daily. That adds that personal touch.
Nice. Okay, what about LinkedIn? Big one for B2B.
Yeah, for LinkedIn, think business hours. The guide points to Tuesday through Thursday, maybe 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. as prime time.
When people are settling into work?
Probably. For frequency, maybe 2 to 3 high-quality B2B-focused posts a week. Think insights, company news, plus maybe 1 or 2 shorter updates or sharing relevant articles.
And longer posts do well there.
Seems so. Longer, thoughtful pieces like articles or analysis tend to get good traction. And crucially, you have to engage. Respond to comments, join discussions. That's key on LinkedIn.
Right, it's a network. Okay, the big blue giant, Facebook.
Facebook. The guide suggests weekdays again, maybe 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., perhaps that post-lunch dip. Thursdays and Fridays often see a bit more engagement too as the week winds down. Around 3 to 7 posts a week seems to be the suggested range. The big tip there, focus on stuff people want to share or interact with. Polls, questions, videos that are entertaining or genuinely useful.
And keep an eye on Facebook Insights.
Absolutely essential. You need to see what your audience responds to, what times work for them.
Okay, switching gears. Twitter. Fast-paced.
Super fast-paced. Twitter thrives on immediacy. Best times. Weekdays, often morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., maybe commute time. And then after 6 p.m., catching people post-work. But this can vary a lot by industry.
And you need to post more often there.
Generally, yes. The guide suggests at least 1 to 3 tweets per day, plus retweeting relevant stuff and replying to people. You need to be part of the conversation. And hashtags, use relevant ones. That's how people find you.
Gotcha. And TikTok or short-form video in general?
Evenings and weekends tend to be peak times for TikTok, according to the guide. More people scrolling for entertainment then.
Makes sense?
Consistency is king there. Aim for maybe 3 to 5 times a week. The real key is testing different times, different styles. Authenticity really resonates on TikTok. Behind the scenes, trends. Try stuff out.
Don't be afraid to experiment. And lastly, Pinterest. For the visual folks.
Pinterest is interesting. More activity in evenings and weekends when people are planning or looking for inspiration.
Like project mode.
Exactly. And because it's more like a visual search engine, the recommended frequency is higher, maybe 5 to 10 pins per day. Automation tools can be your friend here.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is, but they function differently. The big pro tip. Optimize your pins for search. Use keywords, good descriptions, hashtags. Help people find your stuff when they're actively looking.
Okay, these platform guidelines are like a fantastic starting point, seriously useful. But the guide makes it clear, finding your own sweet spot is the real goal. And that means ADA.
Data. You start with a baseline, maybe these recommendations we just talked about. Then you track your KPIs religiously.
Right, the key performance indicators. So not just likes, but engagement rate, reach, clicks, follows, actual conversions, if you can track them.
Everything you can measure. Likes, comments, shares, reach, impressions, click-throughs to your site, follower growth, maybe even sales or leads if you have that set up.
And this isn't a set it and forget it thing, is it? The guide says review weekly using the platform analytics. What patterns should you be looking for?
You're looking for connections, like which days and times consistently get you the best engagement. Do certain types of posts lead to more followers? Do longer posts get more clicks?
Ah, like that SaaS startup example in the guide?
Exactly. They apparently boosted their LinkedIn engagement significantly just by shifting post times based on analyzing, I think it was 3 months of their own data. It shows that fine-tuning really works.
And it's not just numbers, right? The guide mentions listening to your audience, too. Comments, DMs, the qualitative stuff.
Oh, hugely important. That feedback tells you what topics are hitting home, what formats people like, maybe even if your tone is right. Are your posting times actually working for them?
And be ready to experiment.
Absolutely. Social media changes constantly, algorithms shift, user habits evolve. So you got to be willing to tweak your frequency, try new formats, A/B test timings. It's an ongoing optimization process.
Okay, but let's be real. For a startup, limited time, limited people, this can sound like a lot. The guide does address those common challenges, thankfully.
Yeah, resource limitations are probably the biggest one. Most startups don't have a dedicated social media manager.
Not usually, no.
So the advice is start small, focus on just 1 or 2 platforms where you know your audience is. Plan your content in batches, like sit down once a week and plan several posts. And use scheduling tools.
Sure.
Buffer, Later, Hootsuite. They can be lifesavers.
Good tips. What about content fatigue? That feeling of, what on earth do I post today?
Been there. The guide suggests leaning on those content pillars we talked about. Rotating themes helps keep it fresh. Also, repurpose old content. Turn a blog post into tweets or a webinar into video clips. Saves time. And encourage user-generated content. Get your audience involved, photos, testimonials. That's gold.
Right, authentic stuff. Another challenge. Just plain inconsistent execution. Life gets busy, social media slips.
Happens all the time. That's where an editorial calendar is clutch. Plan ahead, draft posts in advance. It keeps you on track.
But leave room for spontaneous stuff, too.
Definitely. You need flexibility for timely news, customer shout-outs, things like that. And the last challenge mentioned is platform overwhelm, trying to do too much on too many networks.
So the advice there is,
Focus. Double down on where you're already getting traction before you try to expand everywhere. Better to be great on one platform than mediocre on 5.
okay, this is all super practical. To wrap it up, the guide gives some clear, actionable steps to actually build and optimize this schedule. Let's run through those quickly.
Right. Step 1. Audit your current accounts. Seriously, look at what's working and what's not. Be honest. If a platform isn't delivering, maybe pause it and focus elsewhere.
Good advice. Then, map out those content pillars.
Yep, define maybe 3 to 5 broad themes for variety and consistency.
Then, use a posting calendar, spreadsheet, Trello, Asana, whatever works. Plan it out.
And batch and schedule posts where you can. Huge time saver. Then, set your initial posting times using those guidelines we discussed as a starting point.
A baseline. And then, track results weekly. Use the analytics.
Critically important. Record what you find. Which times, which content types get the best engagement, reach, clicks for you.
And after like 2 or 3 weeks of data, refine and iterate.
Exactly. Adjust timings, frequency based on your data. Experiment, especially if your audience is spread across time zones.
And don't just post and ghost. Engage.
Yes. Respond to comments. Interact in your industry. It's social media. Build those connections.
And finally, repeat this process. Monthly review. Adapt as needed.
Because your startup evolves, the platforms change.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing cycle, not a one-off task.
So the big takeaway seems to be, a successful startup social media presence isn't about luck. It's about a consistent, data-driven schedule.
Absolutely. It's strategic work, consistently applied.
And that best schedule, it's not some magic formula we just gave you. It's the one you tailor to your audience, your goals, and yeah, your resources.
So we really hope you take action on this. Audit your accounts, define those pillars, start experimenting with a schedule based on these ideas.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Consider how just consistently showing up on social media, even with small efforts done regularly, how that can compound over time.
Oh, yeah. The snowball effect.
Exactly. It's like building the snowball of brand recognition and growth. A well-planned schedule, executed consistently, it can build something really significant long-term, even if you don't see massive results day one. So the question is, what kind of snowball are you going to start rolling for your startup?